Okay, well, let's begin, shall we? Welcome to the Center for the Arts series, weekly series in conversation with. I'm Jake Fredon-Atti, your host and moderator. Today we are talking with Hank Meals, a local expert on many things, including hiking. Cameron has already shared the Zoom etiquette. Hopefully everybody's got that. This event happens every Sunday at 4 o'clock. It's free for Center for the Arts members, $10 for the rest of you. And past events are going to be archived and available soon, I hope. Okay. Hank Meals is a longtime Nevada County resident. He's an archaeologist, a photographer, an author, historian, storyteller, and today he will be specializing in hiking. And I believe, welcome Hank.
Hey.
And I believe we have a little video to watch to get things started.
Yep. Here we go.
And welcome to another episode of In Conversation with, the Center for the Arts ongoing web series where we talk to local Nevada County experts on a range of topics. Today we are with Hank Meals, historian, photographer, writer, author, hiker. Hank, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I moved up here originally as in 1969 with my family. And we were doing the back to the land thing. Right away, I discovered it's difficult to make a living here, but I was fortunate enough to get a job with the Forest Service as an archaeologist. Now, they were just implementing this program, so I got in on the ground floor. What I really benefited from was getting to know the geography of this place while using their truck instead of my shabby truck, and getting to meet a lot of the old timers around here who knew story after story. So I had a series of jobs in addition to the Forest Service, where tree planting, cone gathering, thinning, trail building. I really got to know the landscape. And I became totally enamored of the history and archaeology of this place and ancient land use decisions and an immense amount of human interaction with the landscape here.
Wow. All right. So, Hank, what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about hiking in the winter. First of all, we're lucky to have the kind of winters we have. I mean, if you are experiencing winter in Ohio, this great grayness sets in, and that's winter. You have it, all the leaves fall off, everything's stark, everything appears dead. Here we have these episodes. We have like a storm come in. Immediately after the storm comes through, it's gorgeous again. And you can go out and it's warm in the sun, inevitably. The other thing about the winter is very little fire danger, very little. No smoke. Blue skies, unbelievably blue skies. This is National Geographic blue, the color we get here.
So what kind of prep do people need to do if they want to go for a winter hike?
You have to think in terms of layering, because the weather can change on you. Clouds covering the sun can drop the temperature 10, 15, 20 degrees. Wind can pick up. So you have to think in terms of layering. Usually you have like a t-shirt, polyester synthetic type t-shirt that will wick away moisture closest to your body, then an insulating layer, down, polar fleece, whatever, and then a a shell garment, windbreaker of some sort. Bring enough food, bring enough water, let people know where you're going. Keep in mind that the days are shorter in the winter, so you're going to have to leave early. And the other thing to keep in mind is that twilight happens. It's a much more compressed event in the winter. Like in the summer, you can stay out in the twilight for a couple hours. And the winter, when twilight starts to ease up on you, you're going to be in the dark very fast. So I encourage people, no matter what, in the winter, bring a headlamp or a flashlight for sure. Hats, scarves, because you don't know. You twist your ankle, something simple like that, and you're 4 miles out. It's going to take you a while to get back. You're definitely going to need light and warmth. In the winter, it's always invigorating. Decisions are crisp. Your photography is going to improve because the angle of the sun is so much lower. Get out and experience it. Go to some of the places you went to in the summer and compare it. It's stimulating. Let me put it that way.
Excellent. All right. That was exciting. Hank, where are you? What do you got for us?
Pardon me?
Hi, Hank.
Hey.
So, get out and enjoy the trails this winter, preparation and planning.
Yeah. Well, if you hope to walk the trails in this county and you intend to inform yourself about the ecosystem, you have to do it all year long because we do have seasons. And there are plenty of surprises for you. A trail that has one kind of character in the summer can be completely different in the winter. And the other thing, hiking in the winter just takes more thought. So do that, think. I have a blog that goes over some of the things we're doing today, but it's a little more detailed with regard to preparation. And you can get to that at Yuba Treadhead, one word, .blogspot.com.
Yuba Treadhead?
Yes.
Is that a deadhead joke?
How can you get away from it? It's part of the ecosystem here.
Okay. Do you have some favorite spots, some favorite hikes?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, I think there are a couple of images there that'll just throw out a few random ones. Again, what's a favorite really depends on the day you're out there. So a foggy day is not the same as a sunny day. So you could consider that two different experiences.
Yeah, we met up at Bridgeport to film that little promo video. That was beautiful, and there was a great hike waiting right there that I'd never been on.
That's a beautiful hike. That's the it's called the Point Defiance Loop. It starts at the covered bridge, goes out to where the South Yuba joins the North Yuba, and then climbs up a road and you drop down. It's 2.7 miles, the loop. Easy, lots of variation.
Right.
All right.
And do you have some slides for us?
Yeah.
Aha. Spencerville.
Well, here we go. Spencerville. Spencerville is it is definitely the lowest elevation hike. Some of the, so even right now, you can go out there today and it's greening up right now. Within that, it's a wildlife area managed by Department of Fish and Wildlife. And there's almost 12,000 acres out there. And I've been hiking this for many years, and I keep finding new trails, different kinds of landscapes. It's predominantly a savanna-like landscape, gently rolling hills with blue oak. It's beautiful, but there are small mountains too. There are lots of archaeological sites, and obviously it's managed by Fish and Wildlife. There's plenty of wildlife. I recommend it. Many people when they go there, they go to Fairy Falls because it's worth seeing. But treat yourself. When you cross the little stone bridge at the parking area, take a left instead of a right. Go where others don't go. You won't get lost. You're in for some beautiful surprises. This is the South Yuba Trail between Purdon Crossing and Edwards Crossing. Based on the number of people that came to visit us last year, I would recommend this as a winter trail, primarily. And it's beautiful. It's really a beautiful trail. It's only 4 miles, this segment of it. The whole trail, if you walk from Purdon up to its terminus near the town of Washington, 2 miles below Washington, it's about 25 miles. And I've done it in a day, but I don't recommend it.
Yeah, I bet that's beautiful though.
It is. It's incredible. It's a wonderful. This is a trail that has very limited crossings. So once you're above Edwards Crossing, there are no more crossings and you're on your own. It's beautiful.
And it's all in the canyon within sight of the Yuba?
Yeah. Well, not all within sight of the Yuba, but pretty close. And one of the advantages of hiking in the winter is there are lots of deciduous plants that lose their leaves. You can see better, and there's more water in the river itself, so you can hear it, even if you can't see it.
Great. Please, folks, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat. Oh, that looks familiar.
This is also along the South Yuba Trail. It's it's below Humbug Creek, which comes down from Malakoff. This is called Long Point. It's a fabulous place. You wouldn't believe that, and the other thing about these landscapes is there's stories behind every one of them. There are bedrock mortars right down here. So you had indigenous people camping here. And also about 1911, 1912, they were proposing a dam here. So it would have inundated this beautiful landform. They didn't. We're lucky.
So when you talk about archaeological sites, are you talking mostly about native sites or are you talking about gold rush sites?
All of the above. All of the above. There, you'll see plenty of mining, and you'll see indigenous sites as well. Mostly bedrock mortars, but I can't tell you exactly where the archaeological sites are because it's too many visitors and they just suffer from the impact of that. You'll have to accompany me on a hike.
Okay, we have a question here. Is the trail from Edwards Crossing to South Yuba Campground easily marked? I've hiked Edwards to Purdon and South Yuba Campground to Washington, but not the section in between.
Now, what is it between what and what?
Between Edwards and South Yuba Campground. Is that easily marked? Is it easy to find the trail?
Yeah, South Yuba Campground. I don't know if are you talking about the one that's right above Humbug Creek? There's a sign to it in a couple of places.
Yes.
But if that's the one you're talking about, that's a former BLM or Park Service campground that's now completely overgrown. There's really not much to see there. You can walk from, let's see, once you get to, up above that is Humbug Creek. You can go from Malakoff. That's a 2.5 mile walk down to the South Yuba. There's another, you can make a loop by walking beyond that to the Missouri Yeah, Missouri Bar Trail. That'll take you up and just outside of Malakoff. That's another 2 miles.
Mhm.
I don't know if that answered your question. There's a little bit of rambling in there for sure. Oh, this is quite a ways up to South Yuba. This is probably 7 miles above Washington. And this is getting on an old historic road called the Mayberg Road. It went to the town of Mayberg, a hard rock mining community. But you could see the character of the Yuba has changed a great deal. It's nothing like it is at Bridgeport or the 49 crossing. You're really getting into some rough country.
Yeah, beautiful though. People want to know more about the grinding holes and what exactly they are.
Oh, well, the indigenous people around here, one of the main staples in their diet was acorns, and they processed them by pounding and pulverizing them within these, they're called grinding holes, but in actual fact, they didn't grind in them at all. They used them more like a mortar and pestle, just a pounding. And then leached the flour and made an acorn mush out of that. But the bedrock mortars were not limited to that. There are a lot of them here, for instance, that are close to the water. They would have been looking for salmon and other kinds of fish and drying them on the rocks and eating as many as you can. But the fish bones, for instance, can be pulverized and used any time of the year once they're dried out as a fish stock, which is a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Hank, have you ever had acorn mush?
Yeah, I have. It's pretty bland. It reminds me a little bit of poi, the unfermented variety. It's a cultural thing. They may not like popcorn. What do we know?
Right. One of these days I got to try it. North Yuba near Cherokee Creek.
Yeah, North Yuba. I mean, don't limit yourself to the South Yuba. There aren't very many trails on the Middle Yuba that are low elevation, but there's some great ones on the North Yuba. This is as you reach Indian Valley going north on Highway 49. You're coming out of Camptonville. As soon as you come down to the river again, there's a trailhead right there, right off the road. This is a gorgeous trail that's alongside the river too, up above it a little bit, but it really carries a lot of water. It's a great trail in the winter. It'll take you to the confluence of Canyon Creek and the North Yuba. I'd say I'm estimating this trail is probably 6.5, 7 miles round trip. Good one, impossible to get lost.
So for a 6-7 mile hike like that, how much time should somebody schedule?
Well, you know, like I said, everything's going to take a little longer in the winter. At least the planning end of it, you may be walking a little more briskly, so you may make up for that. But I estimate when I'm out with a group of people, you always have to plan for the least capable person in your party, who's going to be the slowest, you know, because you're all going to be together. So if you estimate about 2 miles an hour, that would include breaks and photo opportunities and et cetera. So that ought to work.
Okay, so 3 hours, 3.5 hours for 6-7 miles.
Yeah.
Questions? No. Hank, let me ask you a question. I know you so much as a photographer. All these years you've been documenting the ridge in Nevada County. Are you just taking pictures on your phone these days? What do you take pictures with these days?
Well, you know, I use the phone every once in a while. I use a Canon point and shoot, which I really enjoy. It's a wonderful little camera. And there's something about, you know, I've been doing photography since 1965, and I've seen a lot of changes, but I still like lifting it to my face. It's an extension of my eyeball and mind. There's just something about it. It's corny but true. I just love that. The phone, holding it up, I use it, but I have more controls with the other. I feel more comfortable with it.
When's the last time you used real film?
Oh my God.
That long?
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't miss that at all.
Hank, tell us about some of the books you've written about Nevada County.
Well, I wrote, as I mentioned before, I worked for the Forest Service as an archaeologist, and I found that so much of our landscape around here is essentially a cultural landscape. It's been created by human activities. The Indians burned. They
have to type it in.
And the miners hydraulic, which is a lot more dramatic, but we have many things in between, ditches and the rerouting of water courses. So much of what you see out there has a story behind it. So me and Susan Lamella, we had so many stories, and people would say, you ought to write this down. I knew nothing about writing other than writing reports, really dry stuff. But there are stories built into the landscape. So we just started sharing them and found there's a huge audience for that. And we've had a great response. We did 3 versions of hiking books and sold probably 12,000 copies, something like that, which is pretty good for a tight little region.
What are those books called?
Yuba Trails 2, and The River.
Nice. Somebody named Owner wants to know, were the bedrock holes ever cooked in?
No.
No, that's not what they're for. Okay. So if we've got, if you have somebody who's on the older side, maybe has some physical disabilities, what's the easiest, most beautiful spot that they can get in for a very gentle walk, just a half hour out in nature? They can drive right up to the trailhead. What are your recommendations for that?
Well, part of our legacy is the ditch system. The ditches on the average descended about 10 feet a mile. So that's a real low gradient, and you don't have a lot of ups and downs, which is unique for being in the mountains. You're essentially moving along a contour. So outside of Nevada City, we have the Lower Cascade Canal, Boulder Street. We have right out of Nevada City, Deer Creek Canal that takes you all the way out to Newtown Road. That going out and coming back would be, I don't know, 6 miles or so. And there are others.
Okay. Here's Tom wants to know, how has the watershed changed in the last 4 or 5 decades? Last 50 years here.
Well, it's changed only in the sense that that's a very small period of time if you're talking geology or even reforestation, but the recreation use is way more than it was 50 years ago. So, and we're dealing with that. And I personally think we really need to come up with some way to educate people about how to enjoy what's theirs, public land. But there's some etiquette and stewardship involved that you have to be aware of.
Things got very heated on Facebook this past year once the COVID lockdown started, and then all the locals felt like, oh my God, all these people are showing up to hike the trails. They're leaving trash everywhere. They're not being COVID safe. People were looking for places to go hiking outside, and the locals were feeling very threatened, is what I saw.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why I'm really, I feel that Circle and other environmental nonprofits should really be accenting it on the education side. I know when we first started using seatbelts, it was because our children were urging us to use seatbelts. It's something that they learned in school.
Yeah.
And I think you can put it across in a lot of different ways, but it's essential. I mean, you just can't say, there's a whole group of people, if you say, no, don't do this, that's simply not sufficient, and it's even cause for rebellion. So if you educate, it's important.
Right. Jan wants to know if you can recommend hikes in Placer County or the American River Canyon.
The American River Canyon, I love the North Fork of the American. There's some, yeah, I'm sure you know about the Stevens Trail out of Colfax. That down and out, that's a gorgeous trail. It gets a little too much use. So if you use it early in the morning on a weekday is your best bet, or in the winter, and that's about a 9-mile round trip. There are others down in the recreation area outside of Auburn. There are websites and pamphlets and books about those trails in that area. Or you can keep going up. What's the next one? Yuba-Bear Trail. That probably has more switchbacks than any trail around here. I don't recommend that if you're not in great shape. But there are a lot of great trails on the North Fork of the American. That's in Placer County.
Jill says, can you please say more about the South Yuba above Maybert? Is that part of the South Yuba Trail? How long is it? Where is the trailhead?
No, the Maybert Road runs, it's an actual historic road, was created in, I think, the 1870s, 1880s, and it runs from the town of Washington on the north side of the river, and it runs up to where the town of Maybert was, and I figure that's roughly 7 miles or so. But above that, you're on your own. It's about 6 miles from the Maybert area to the Bowman Road crossing below Spalding Dam. And I walked that with a friend one time. And despite it being only 6 miles, it took us about 12 hours. And we had to navigate, we had to go back and forth across the river at the driest time of the year. So I don't recommend that. That's hairy up there. But if you go on the Maybert Road and you want an adventure, there's a trail off of it called the Doolittle Trail, which goes up onto the ridge between the South Fork and Canyon Creek, and gorgeous views, worth it. All these trails, you can find out more about them by online. They're managed by various agencies. Among those agencies are Bureau of Land Management, California Fish and Wildlife, Tahoe National Forest, Parks and Rec, Army Corps of Engineers, Bear Yuba Land Trust has a great map section, and even the town of Nevada City, the city of Nevada City, has their own trails department, and they have a series of maps too. So trails are extremely popular right now.
And are there some local hiking organizations people can join that might organize some hikes like that? Or?
Yeah, there are, I forget the names of them right now, but I think if you just Google hiking in Nevada County. There are at least two groups who meet out in the shopping center in front of Flower Garden twice a week. Each one has a meeting once a week, and they go out, I think, year round. People of all ages, they decide on the spot based on the group where they're going to go. That's a good thing. It's a healthy thing. Also, there's a commercial enterprise that I'm part of with Laura Peterson called Hiking for Good. And we did it last year and the year before, and it was extremely successful. There's so many people who just moved to this county who don't know where to begin, don't have any idea about the various ecosystems or difficulty involved. So this is a great way to do it. We'll be putting out some publicity probably late in summer.
Okay. Couple questions here. Connie says, we love Buttermilk Bend for wildflowers and short and sweet. Buttermilk Bend?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Generally, Buttermilk Bend is moving upstream out on the north side of the river from Bridgeport. And it is beautiful, but again, that is very crowded. I recommend Spenceville in the spring because there's so much more territory to wander around in. You won't have the river. You have a nice sized creek there, Dry Creek, but but you won't be trampled.
The road less traveled. Sudarshan says, did you ever go to Arctic Mine off Maybert Road?
I have. Maybert Road, right out of the day-use area called Golden Quartz, right after the Maybert Road crosses Canyon Creek. There's a split in the road. To the east is Maybert Road, and the other one follows Canyon Creek. You can head up that way. There's a structure there still, and it's a beautiful area, and that's not too hard to get to. Cami
recommends be sure to pick up a copy of BYLT. Is that the Bear Yuba Land Trust? Little laminated flip book available locally in Nevada City. Such a wonderful resource. Do you know what that is? Yeah, Bear Yuba Land Trust has both on their website, and they have a little keychain device that has maps on it. I appreciate what they're doing a great deal, but I'm not happy with the maps. They really don't have enough detail to show you, for instance, they're just line drawings. They don't show you where there's a hilltop, where there's a drainage. A little texture would help on the maps. Okay, Barbara would really like to get the name of those hiking groups. If anybody else knows them, maybe you could type it in chat. And also says, can you still take Doolittle Trail to Fall Creek Trailhead? Has that become overgrown? No, you can do that. There's some deadfall on it, but it's open. Okay. Hank, I have a question for you. You know, I've been telling people for years and years and years that the unique flavor of the Yuba River has to do with the hydraulic mining, that thousands and thousands of tons of gravel were washed down that river, and that's why all the rocks are so smooth. Is that true, or am I making that up? No, that's partially true. It's really true. There's some beautifully sculpted rocks, as you know, and that if you think of it, all that gravel, it's exactly what they do in tumblers with gemstones, and that's true. So that would be the middle fork from China Dam south or so? Yeah, starting actually, there's one more contributing stream to the north called Slate Creek, I'll think of it. I'm having a little. That's okay. But here's something to keep in mind in terms of the Yuba River. The volume of gravel that came downstream in the hydraulic mining era
is more than the combined amounts from the feather and the American and the bear, just going down the Yuba. And it's estimated that's equivalent to the amount of material that was taken out to create the Panama Canal.
Wow. And basically all that gravel created or changed radically the Sacramento Delta.
Right. You can, if you're taking Highway 20 down to Marysville, you go past Smartsville, you of course cross the Yuba there. You look to your west and you can see it's all flat and full of gravel. That's like 70 to 100 feet of gravel, completely burying the old historic streamside sites. And it's about 7 miles long and up to 2 miles wide. So that's a hell of a lot of gravel.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be interesting to just have a talk about the legacy of mining in this county because it's so big, it's affected so much. Barbara says the rice crossing preserve near Bullard's Bar is very nice in winter.
Yeah, it is. 2 weeks ago, Laura Peterson and I took the new Yuba Drop Trail from behind, just below Bullard's Bar Dam. You can, that piece of land you're talking about, you can access from near the Bridgeport area, and then you can access it from the upper, you can access the upper reaches from just below Bullard's Bar Dam. This trail, it comes out to about an 8 or 9 mile day with an extreme drop. So I'm not recommending it. It's difficult. It's difficult. And now with moisture and ice on the rocks and on branches and snags, I don't recommend it at all because it's too slippery. You could really hurt yourself. It's a beautiful trail. Down at the lower end, there are lots of options down near Rice's Crossing.
Hank, do you know when the PG&E dam was built above China Dam?
The PG&E dam. Yeah, I think it's about, I don't know the exact date off the top of my head, but PG&E starts about 1905. I think they signed the papers in the National Hotel for PG&E itself. So it's sometime after that, not long after that. And the China Dam, by the way, there's a general assumption. Anytime somebody sees a rock wall around here, they think Chinese. It's like a knee-jerk reaction to the Great Wall of China, perhaps. But it's not true. I mean, it's one of the skills you had to have around here. You use it for retaining walls on trails and roads. You use it in mining. There were crews. It's a kind of work that was generally available. It's true. There were Chinese gangs who hired out as work crews to do road work and build ditches. But many, many people, including Italians, brought a whole tradition of rock work. And you'll see a lot of that up on the North Yuba, Sierra City, Downeyville area.
Okay, this will be, we're going to do a couple last questions here before we wrap up. Where would you recommend hiking for wildlife, birds, to see lots of animals? Or
Again, I think Spencerville is great for in the winter. Any meadow area in the summer, spring and summer.
Okay, great. So let's wrap this up. The main points: get out and enjoy. Hank, how many times a week do you get out and take a hike?
At least once, but I try to get 2, 3 if possible. But I have to spend a certain amount of time at the computer to make it work.
Right. Any closing points you'd like to give us? Anything we missed?
No, just that, I could, there are 2 things to consider in terms of just common courtesies. We talked about this before. When you're walking these trails and you're climbing or this happens more on a descent, don't cut across switchbacks because you're creating erosion. And the other thing, if you're out on a trail, and somebody just called me the other day about this, and you find it's really being beat up, there's some huge puddles collecting, there's some landslides on it, or a bunch of deadfall, tell your friends, recommend that they don't use it, and contact the managing agency so they can get on it as quick as possible. And the trail will be around that much longer. But I'm enthusiastic about hiking in the winter. I find it very invigorating, and I hope you take a shot at it.
Great. Thank you, Hank. Cameron has put all our links back up into the chat again. Next week, all right. Next week, mute those guys. Next week, we are taking a break, and we are returning on February 7th with Daniel Batchelor for Cannabis 101. You're not going to want to miss that. He is the owner of Elevation 2477, the new pot dispensary in town. Curbside pickup is available, and I think there might even be like a little sampler pack available. We'll learn more about that. Rita Hosking with Sean Fetter will be broadcast from the center on January 29th at 7 p.m. Rita sings of forest fires, culture clash, dishes, rivers, black holes, and hope. These shows now require a ticket to view, so please purchase yours in advance, but it is free to members, which I imagine many of you are. The art show at the Center for the Arts is still Marie Wolf, Sparks of Imagination, paintings. That's open Tuesday through Friday, 12 to 4. We have winter classes for youths coming up in February, including a virtual class on playwriting. Thanks to everybody who makes this series possible: Amber Joe, Melissa Clark, Cameron Brown, Conrad Sisk, and of course, Hank Meals, our guest today. My name is Jake. Thank you, guys. These are fun, and I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. And if we can unmute everybody to say goodbye.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you in 2 weeks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hank. Thanks, Jake.
Hank.
Bye-bye.